Hello everybody, I'm here doing a spotlight video with Dan Allaston. It's been quite a few years since I've been in your shop last.
It looks like 9 years, yeah. I think, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was longer, but it wasn't even this shop that I was in, it was the old location.
Sort of, yeah, across the street and down the road a bit.
Yeah. So I asked Dan to do a video today about the NIX Show, and I was sort of curious about the show coming up, and curious about the backstory of how it came into Dan's hands, and sort of I've been wanting to flesh that out with you.
Sure, I can. This year is the 25th edition, although it's not the 25th annual because the very first show was in 1998. Mm-hmm. I was sort of always an advisor for Damien through the years of the show. My face was actually on the first poster.
Okay.
A questionable decision on their part, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So we were always, and more recently, the last 10 years, we'd go up and we'd, help with the competitions and a number of things with Damien. And he was looking to sort of change things up, revitalize the show a bit. And several years in a row, he asked me to partner with him. And I was like, no, I've done this before, because I ran the first international shows in Canada in 93 and 94 in Montreal. And then in 2019, I guess I'd had the right amount of drinks, and Damien asked me again, and I was like, fuck yeah, let's do this.
Yeah.
And, we went from there. We made a game plan. We were going to do a whole bunch of different things, and then COVID hit, and sadly we lost Damien. Mm-hmm. So by the time things settled down, it was 2022, and we had to do this thing by ourselves, without the captain of the ship. And and that's, so all along we wanted to put in all those plans we made together and, move forward. And I think we've done good, attendance has been up, we've done new things, people have liked what we've done, and it's grown each year.
Sure, yeah. And, when I heard that you were taking over the show, I just thought, this is so fitting. You put on the first international show. There's really nobody that I could think of is more capable of carrying that torch in your connection with Damien and the show all these years, right? Yeah,
but I just wanted to help him do a show. I didn't want to do the whole thing again.
Sorry about your luck.
But here we are. And we wanted his baby to flourish, so we worked hard to make sure it did.
Yeah, and NIX has such a strong reputation over the years. You hear people, they talk about it in a very endearing way. It's a very coveted show.
Well, something doesn't last from 1998 till now. By sort of failing or wallowing.
That's right.
It's grown out of all the hotels in Toronto, into the sort of the premier convention center in the city, possibly the country. Mm-hmm. So biggest city in the country, biggest convention center. There's no place else to go,
Because there was a time when the Toronto show was sold out, and you couldn't get into the show, if I remember right.
That's still the case.
Oh, is that?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. We sell out every year.
Yeah.
Months before the show.
And how many artists are in the show? How many vendors in total?
Usually, just a little over 500 artists.
Okay.
Yeah, and we could make it bigger, but we sort of refuse to. We want the artists that attend to be busy, to have a good time. We could double the size of the show, but that would just be wrong.
Okay, yeah.
I think this is the right size. It's big, but not monstrous, and
because each artist will draw a certain amount of people, but if there's too many artists, it may water down the show a bit.
You want a certain air of exclusivity, and you want everyone to be busy as well. So that's the back end of our job, is to bring in the thousands and thousands of people who want to get tattooed. Mm-hmm. So,
and what are the plans this year? What are you guys up to with the show?
One of the things, it's the 25th, so we brought in some artists that haven't been here before. You know, we've got a good handful of Ink Masters in the house, and you know, last year's winners and runner-up. You know, father and son team.
Yep.
And you know, new entertainment. We have an exhibit, a retrospective, looking through all 25 editions of the show. Sort of, there's some artifacts, and there's images, a full room of images, reprints of all the posters.
Okay.
You know, media shots. So a proper exhibit, you know, a retrospective of.
I'm going to be all over that. I'm going to be in there snapping photos of everything.
You know, we hope that's what everyone's going to be doing. Everyone's going to be scanning the photos to see if they can find their face in the crowd, or
sure,
you know,
yeah,
that sort of thing.
Yeah, from a history standpoint, it'd be really interesting to see all the flyers, like the posters in one eye shot, like that.
Yeah, they're there.
Yeah.
So on the walls are going to be full of all that stuff of reproductions, and then there's going to be a couple display cases with actual passes, badges, tickets, you know, magazine coverage, you know, in display cases.
Sure, yeah.
As well, we're going to be giving away the last 4 years posters as well, so we've got a nice little stash of pristine, unfolded, you know, posters from the last 4 years as well for people to take home with them.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Everybody loves collecting that sort of stuff, right?
Nobody hates the free stuff.
Yeah. And speaking of free stuff or support that you have for this show, your sponsors, who's some of the big sponsors this year?
Yeah, big sponsors. Icon, obviously. They've always got our back with the convention packs for the artists, you know, help the artists travel light. Deadly Supply, Good Guy, Cheyenne, Eternal.
And that's it's interesting to me because every time I see a show or anything that goes on, you always see Icon, Good Guy. You see these same people showing up. It's really incredible that how I couldn't even fathom how much these companies give to support these kind of things. And like, I'm a fundraiser. I've been doing fundraising for years. Icon's always stepped up, and I've never approached Rob or Matt at Good Guy and asked for anything, but you know they're a giving company. So
yeah, I mean they are hands-on involved in the industry. All of those companies, and you have to be. You know, you have to be a part of the industry. That pays your rent.
That's right.
You know, happily involved.
Yeah. So you're a veteran. Show putting on her. Is that a word? I don't think so.
Yeah.
But you're a veteran in this because you have some history. And how is today's running a show today different than when you put on that Montreal show?
Well, the applications and the contracts were mailed in.
Okay.
You know, people applied by mail from seeing a magazine ad.
Carrier pigeon.
Absolutely. Tortoise sometimes.
Yeah.
Fax machines were kind of a
Fax.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Postal money orders.
Yeah.
And just the size of the shows back then. You know, the big show was 40 booths. 50 booths.
Okay.
You know.
In Montreal, the 2 years that you put it on, how many booths did you have in that show?
I think the first year was something like 40, and I'm not sure the second year it was considerably larger, but the number escapes me. But all of the big names of the day, were at those shows. Tintin, Bernie Luther, Jonathan Shaw, Gil Monty, Paul Booth, Paul Massaro. There's just anyone you saw in the magazines back then was at that show that came to Little Montreal,
And I often think about the interview we did years ago when you were telling me all about that in Montreal. It sits in my mind as something really special, and I think a lot of people like the NIX show. They think those 2 Montreal years, it was a really special show where there was such a dynamic group of people, and it was because of your experience and travel and who you and Keith were.
Yes.
That made that show so successful.
Specifically, yeah, me and Keith, we'd worked a bunch of European shows together in that time period, and we were doing a show. We wanted everything to be available that wasn't available at the shows we were traveling to. So we made it to be an experience for the artists. Mm-hmm. We didn't care if we broke even,
Yeah.
So, we really, I think we came up with some little things that, became a standard after that.
And what was harder back then? Is there anything harder or anything easier back then? But the hardest thing?
Well, I mean, initially, because we did it with, we're going to do this, let's do it at the biggest, classiest hotel in Montreal. We did, with the Queen Elizabeth. Mm-hmm. And at first, when we approached them, they definitely side-eyed us, and they're like, do you want to do what in our, esteemed premises?
That's right.
But luckily, I'd gone ahead and I'd spoken to Lou Robinson, who used to run the Mad Hatters, and I'd spoken to Flo, who run the Nationals in the States, if I could give their names and their participating hotels. So once the Queenie reached out to these other hotels that held similar events, then their tune went from what you're talking about to, come on down and we're going to comp you a suite so we can have a meeting.
Welcome, Mr.
Yeah, welcome, Mr. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And after having such a long break from doing this, how's it been this putting these shows on?
It's an incredible amount of work. Mm-hmm. All the little things you have to think of. So many working pieces. I mean, we do it because we love it, but it's like, minimum a day a week all year, and then that's just for the nuts and bolts. Then each year you got to think of, well, what's going to be new? What are we going to give away? What are we going to, what are we going to do that makes it special? What will make it memorable? Mm-hmm. Even factoring in this time for the sort of tag team tattooing that has become more common now.
Okay.
Right. Well, two artists doing a large piece over the weekend. So you better have a spare trophy in the back room.
Oh yeah.
Right. There's two artists. You know. So
they win. And
I'm not going to flip a coin for.
That's right.
So, those little things that you try and think of.
Sure. Yeah. And did I hear right? I think someone was telling me that you're going to name the aisles after.
Oh, we did that a couple of years ago.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah. We all of the rows have names. Tony Danessa, Paul Rogers, Keith Stewart, Crazy Ace Daniels, Milton Zeiss, Lyle Tuttle, I think.
Yeah, Forbes, Snow,
Doc
Baldwin,
Forbes,
Circus Leo.
Yeah, no, we haven't. We're gonna switch them up, but yeah.
Okay.
So we know that a lot of the old timers will know who those people are, and if it just makes a handful of the kids Google it, it was worth the time and energy and expense to do that little thing,
Sure, yeah. I think I haven't been in a few years, so I didn't know that you guys were doing that.
Well, we won't hold it against you.
I'll be there this year.
Yes, you will.
And thanks for the booth with Bob and I. We're thrilled to bring some history to the show, and
but you're doing some cool stuff, so we want to promote that. We want to encourage that, right? That's if one person at the show learns something by accident from you guys, that's a win, Mike.
Sure it is. Yeah. And you have a partner that's helping out with this, and I'm sure a team who's
well Milena from the shop here is like the co-producer of the show, and deals with the stuff that I'm clueless about. Obviously websites and social media and anytime the computer's glitch, that's not me fixing that. So
that's right. Yeah. And anybody else behind the scenes? Do you?
Well, and everyone at our shop really comes down to the show.
Yeah.
And we have a nice handful of people in the Toronto area. We have a Toronto crew as well. Mm-hmm. People that go back to the Damien time. Yeah. That still come out, and work the show with us.
Mm-hmm. Was that hard for you when the first year you did NIX and Damien wasn't there? Like that, for me, that would have been incredibly difficult because this is something you're supposed to do together, right?
I mean, luckily we had a game plan and we had sat down and there was lists and stuff. But pure panic, I think, would cover, okay, now we have to do this. And not only that, because it was 2022, we only got the go-ahead 3 months before the first show, where it was like, it looked like it was going to happen, and then there was another, bit of COVID, and then...
Okay, yeah.
And then, so then we had 3 months to like, okay, it's going to happen now,
So if you could do it in 3 months, then... Mind you, there was probably a lot of prep work going on beforehand anyways. But
yes, yeah. We had a game plan, at least, and but yeah, it was nerve-wracking. It still is. It's a pretty big undertaking. You don't want to have the biggest party in the city flop, right?
Exactly.
Have nobody show up to your party, like.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter how promised success that you've been given by it, you just never know.
No.
Yeah.
No, you have to earn it every year. Yeah.
So those of you watching, come to the show.
Absolutely, yes.
It's in a few weeks.
Yeah, June 13, 14, 15 at the Metro Toronto Convention Centre on Front Street in Toronto, under the shadow of the tower.
That's right. It's gonna be really a fantastic year. I'm really excited that I get to actually attend this year, but yeah, this will be my first time in a booth in a NIX show.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
I don't think I've missed many. I've been to most of them, I think, since the very beginning. But
sure, yeah.
I've worked not far from 200 shows around the world, so a bit of a convention junkie. Yeah,
and are you still going out to shows like that?
Yes, it's kind of slowed down a bit in the last year. Anytime someone has asked me that question, I'd say, "Oh yeah, we're not doing as many as we used to," and then you go, "Oh yeah, we're doing 9 this year." So
sure, yeah, and that's probably, again, you're learning at every show that you've been to. It's like you're bringing a little piece of that with you.
Yes,
and again, I think that's probably why you're just the guy to do this, because you certainly have experience.
You can steal a good idea even from a bad show. There could be one little thing that they're doing that's like, oh man, we can do something with that, right?
Well, and learn 10 things that they should be doing, and go, oh, they should have done this. I'm not gonna.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Learning what not to do is maybe more important than learning what to do, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
In life, in general.
Yeah. And are you planning to go to Mexico for 2 months after the show to relax?
Not so much. No, that hasn't happened yet. No.
Okay.
One day.
Yeah.
One day. Yeah.
But do you have a good hiding spot after the show?
At home. I kind of live in the country, right? So I can hide right there.
Okay, perfect.
I like Cuba. I like South Africa. Dominican is on my radar. I haven't been there, so I need to put a pin in that.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to sponsor Dan for a trip to Dominican,
there you go.
Just email Transfer the Shop. And
absolutely,
yeah, that'd be great. Dan, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Such a pleasure to sit down and chat with you and pick your brain a little bit.
My pleasure. Anytime.
All right, everybody, thanks for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day. And come and find us at NIX. Bob Pullen and I will be at a booth. Come and find Dan if you can at the show. I'm sure it'll be all over the place.
I'll be the guy running in circles.
Yeah. All right, take care. Bye-bye.